Talk about the arrest of the leader of IPOB. How did you respond to that?
Well, Nigeria, for me, it's not for me to tell the government to prepare itself, because there's going to be a huge squawk when the truth about how Kanu was arrested, when the truth comes out. Our nation is, people are alleging this and that and that. So that's one phase, whether Nigeria has acted outside international law. That's one issue. The second issue, however, has to do with Kanu's conduct outside the nation. There's been a level of hate rhetoric, which is, for me, has been most unfortunate, issuing from Kanu outside. But for me, hate rhetoric is an issue which can only be judged by the laws of any nation. So we come back to the issue, was it right to have, for me, quote unquote, kidnapped? You can say intercepted as much as you want, but I think that Kanu was kidnapped, and that is wrong internationally and it's wrong morally.
And how would you advise the federal government to move forward? Talking about all this now, you've identified some pitfalls in the way that the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu has been handled, and also the way the DSS raided Sunday Igboho's house. For Nnamdi Kanu, for starters, how would you advise the federal government to move forward in terms of his trial and other things that will come up after now?
To answer that kind of question, we have to ask ourselves, what is the position mentally, spiritually, economically, politically? What's the state of mind, the collective state of mind of a vast section of this nation at the moment? And that state of mind is best described as distrust, total distrust. This government has earned itself, rightly or wrongly, that's for the government, that side to decide. But anybody who's telling this government that the people of this nation still trust it, I'm sorry, if the government believes that, it's really plunging this nation further into the abyss.
After raiding his home, the DSS had come out to say that Sunday Igboho is wanted and that he should turn himself in. What would you advise he does in this situation?
Well, my advice is not even so much Igboho, but to the government, that they should stop pursuing this person as a criminal, because you have begun by acting in a criminal fashion against him. Because if and when Igboho comes to trial, I guarantee you it's the government which will be very, very embarrassed. Very embarrassed. So it's not even in the interest of the government. I think they should just tell Igboho, we made a mistake. We should not have acted in this way. You are no longer wanted. Please go back to your home. In fact, escort him to his home, quietly, and let him resume his normal life. To declare him wanted. And again, this is another issue of language. I read in some papers, Igboho is in hiding. Well, but more accurately, he's probably just gone underground, to protect himself and perhaps to be able to continue his declared struggle. I'm not talking now about the secessionist aspect of his struggle. No, I'm talking about what Igboho came out to do, and which I believe is still his mission in this nation, to protect, defend his own people, and to let the aggressors know that they are not lords of this nation or any section of it, apart from what they are constitutionally entitled to. So I think the government, it's in no one's interest. If you bring Igboho to trial, you're just going to get mud in your face, clearly. As far as I'm concerned, it's up to Igboho to decide. He knows what the circumstances were. He knows what happened before his people were killed. And he's the only one who can judge, who can decide for himself. I cannot advise him.
some critics have said that the federal government was fast to arrest Nnamdi Kanu. But when we look at other issues like the bandits still ravaging the northwest and some part of the northeast, the kidnapping still ongoing, and also the issue with the Boko Haram, and you begin to ask that how are they so fast and so quick to arrest? The situation with IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu and the others are still being left to go unchecked.
Yes. The government cannot wash itself clean of what seems to me a kind of comparative energy in pursuing the destabilizing, quote-unquote, forces in this nation. If I may take ourselves back, maybe you remember once when I threw a challenge to Buhari, and I said, what I expect from a commander-in-chief, from a true leader, and this is, early, in the sort of the malevolent activities of these groups. I say, what I expect, now that we've identified those who are killing farmers and taking their farms, occupying their villages, is to issue an order, give a deadline, an ultimatum, say that any illegal occupant of any villages, farms, and so on, is given 48 hours to quit. After which, the mightiest forces of this nation will be unleashed against them. No, it was ignored. It's because I said so. Many other people have said so in different forms. But I'm coalescing, challenges which have been thrown to this government, say, just show leadership where it is essential. And so when years later, a head of state comes out and says, we will respond to these people in the language they understand. Now that is what I had expected him to say years ago, at the very beginning of the insurgency, of the cattle people, especially as it was clear they were organized. And their leadership, the Maeti Allah, their leadership should have been arrested ages ago, long before IPOD was declared a terrorist organization. I have allied myself with those like Autumn and others who said that Maeti Allah should have been declared long before then a terrorist organization. And the evidence was there. A state governor passed a law for the protection of its own people and their productive means, their livelihood, their very dignity. And a group got up and said, if you don't rescind that law, we'll show you. You haven't seen anything yet. This is not an anonymous statement on internet. It was not fake news. The leadership of Maeti Allah actually threatened that government and have proceeded to put their money where their mouth is. Nothing has happened to them. We have not seen the same energy, the same deductive, organizational sleuthery mounted against these people. I'm not aware that even one of them has ever been called for questioning. And what did Igboho do? And they didn't even call him for questioning. They just attacked him in the middle of the night. I mean, illegally and constitutionally. So people are right to say there has been an unbalanced, unequal, and irregular approach to security enforcement in this nation.
What do you think will happen next? Do you see a situation where we'll have more Sunday Igbohos, more Nnamdi Kanus arising from the west, the east, the south?
We already have them. They exist inside, within, and they exist outside. It's not Igboho who's the issue. It's not Kanu who's the issue. It's a collective distrust, disenchantment. That's the word I want. Collective disenchantment with the conduct of this regime. And that's why I say it can only redeem itself, it can only reverse this downhill course it's embarked upon by now coming clean, trying to open a totally new page. Even forget the past. How do we move on from here? And so I want all this business, we met this, and we do this by the self-excusing by Buhari. Yes, thank you. Take it for granted. You did not create Boko Haram. We accept it. You did not create Mayeti Allah. But what did you do about it? That is the question. Or what should you do from here on? It's the only way we'll save our sanity and also make the slightest progress. Otherwise, as I said before, all this language, all this discussion will be purely academic when, as the saying goes, hits the fan.